Hey, Mariners fans, welcome back to another episode of Monday Mojo. Spring training, it's been in full action, but that's not the premise of today's episode. We had come across an article by ESPN, and it was titled "How Ken Griffey Jr. Saved a Man's Life." Well, Seattle Mariners fans, anybody scrolling through, Twitter or ESPN, they see that. I'm sure you clicked it, you read it. Because that's what I did. I clicked it, I read that article, and it was a very beautiful story about how baseball and Ken Griffey Jr. specifically has played a role in a gentleman's life. And this gentleman, he's named Jason Vass. And Jason is, I think, can be proclaimed as the world's largest Ken Griffey Jr. fan. It's over $401,000 some dollars of memorabilia that he owns, from easy cheese spray, whatever it's called, to two different suits. He's got the whole 9 yards of everything you could imagine. But super cool interview. I mean, it's one that we haven't really done before in the sense of we have had, Aaron Goldsmith, we've had Julio Rodriguez, we've had Willie Bloomquist, we have a number of other people, and Jason Churchill, that have come onto the show. And today's guest is just a different, it was just different because it's us talking with a fan who, we kind of relate more to, in that sense of the side of baseball that we see and why we love it, and not so much so as somebody who's been involved in the game, on the playing side, if that makes sense. And so I think you guys are going to love it. But before you listen to it, you got to do a favor for Monday Mojo. You got to click, you got to like, you got to comment, subscribe, hit up the YouTube. I know that we have so many more listeners than that who we have subscribed. The numbers do not lie. And so for you who have not subscribed yet, go do it real quick. It's so easy. Click a button, help your boys out. It's how we can, continue growing. And then comment on Apple Podcasts, rate us. If you love us, give us 5 stars. And if you hate us, give us 5 stars and lie. We don't really, we don't want any 1 stars, but no, with that being said, I mean, I think you guys are going to enjoy the heck out of this interview. And Jason Vass is a really cool guy that you guys are going to connect with, I think, for sure. So I think with that being said, let's kick it off. Jason, yeah, can you hear us?
Absolutely. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm living the dream, brother.
Hey, you and us all the same, right?
Love the shirt.
Yeah, man. I had to put it on for you. I mean, we're talking with, is it safe to say, Jason, that we're talking with the world's biggest Ken Griffey Jr. fan?
Not in a creepy way, but yes.
See, I reading the article, I saw like the word creepy. I was like, I don't think this is like, that's never a word when reading that article that came to my mind. I love it. It's admirable, man. That's baseball, right? Baseball in general.
Absolutely.
It can help people with everything. And so, I mean, to just kick it off, man, would love to just hear your, thoughts and kind of, I know we all read the article, but for the people listening, right? Like, tell them who you are and give them that quick background. I mean, this is one of the coolest stories I've ever been able to read. And we're thrilled to hear, what you got to say.
Well, first of all, it's amazing for me to hear things like that. I've been hearing it all week, and it's been absolutely wonderful. And if this article can help just even one person, damn right, I'm on board. So, well, this all started back in 1989. And I was kind of at a crossroads. I had friends that were doing the good stuff, friends that were doing the bad stuff, and rough childhood, not to make it short, but I had a decision to make on which way I was going to go. If it was going to be, typical kids that come out of my situation, or they always come out on the bad side of things, the wrong side of the tracks, if you will. And I had a few friends of mine, Aaron and Brad, both were collecting baseball cards, and I just decided to dive in with them one day. And I didn't know anything about it. I really didn't, Chris. I didn't know the first thing about it. But seeing their joy, I needed some kind of joy in my life. So I just, like I said, I decided to dive in. And I just happened to be in my room one night reading an article on Junior, and of course the stresses that he was going through, leaving home, being by himself, being 19 years old. He went through some things himself, and I began to connect with that. And when you looked at his positivity, his outlook on life, how carefree and fun everything was for him, I thought to myself one day, it's like, if this person can do that, why can't I? And it just took off from there. Any card that came into my house or a pack that I opened up, if it had any value to it, it was gone. It was either sold to my local card shop or it was traded to my friends for their Ken Griffey Jr. stuff. And I never stopped. And 101,000 Ken Griffey Jr. cards later, here we are. So essentially, the whole thing really did save my life. It really did. But it has, not only has it saved my life, but I have amassed one hell of a friendship base that I wouldn't trade for the world. And look at what I'm doing right now. I'm because of this, I'm meeting 3 new people. Never seen you guys in my life, but here we are. And it's just opened up so many doors for me. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really wouldn't. It's been amazing.
What's up, Jason? I'm Chris as well. So don't get that confused. But so
Chris Squared is what we like to call each other.
Yeah, we call it Chris Squared. So what does that look like when ESPN reaches out to you? Is it just, they heard about the story through, or how did they even get the story?
Well, Ryan Hawkinsmith from ESPN actually found me on an Instagram post. Somebody had sent it to him. Ryan Crackwell, I believe from Beckett, sent it to him, and he contacted me. And I'm at work, and I'm sitting in my office, and it's towards the end of the day, and I look out my door across the hall to my buddy Tom LeGuy, and I said, somebody from ESPN just contacted me. I don't know if this is real or not. And Ryan, asked me, certain questions, and I replied. And I gave him my phone number. I didn't think twice about it. I go home. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm not thinking twice about it, and my phone rings, and it's Ryan Hawkins. Oh God, this is real. And he, I answered, and he is just the nicest person on the planet. And he flew down here from Connecticut, and he came by a Friday night, and he was here for probably an hour or two Friday night. And then he came back Saturday morning, and he was, probably here for 4 or 5 hours. And we just sat back, talked, and again, here we are. It was definitely surreal. I never thought that all of this would lead to an ESPN article. And at one point on Tuesday, one of my best friends calls me and says, you need to go to ESPN.com right now. And I go to, as soon as you type in ESPN.com, it was right there. It wasn't just on the MLB page. It was
front and center.
Saw for the next 2 or 3 hours. There's my mug on ESPN, and I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen? But golly, it has led to the most amazing week I've had in a long time. It really has.
So you have anyone else reaching out to try to do stories like in the Virginia area or
all over the place?
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. And these stories have meant the world to me. I mean, people who I have no idea who these people are. But they are reaching out to me and telling me their stories and how sports cards or a specific player helped them through things. And that has meant the world. And this week has been, in a good way, very tiring because I've been doing my best. Whoever reaches out to me, I make damn sure that I do my best to answer them back and to talk to them for whether it's a couple of messages or this huge string of text or messaging or calls. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to, if someone took that much time out of their life to contact me, I want to do my best to give them that as well. It's been great though. It really has.
That's awesome. And I'm curious. So is it just Griffey, or have you, grown a love for the Mariners as well as a byproduct, or what's that look like?
Okay, so my love for the Seattle Mariners runs as deep as one love can possibly be.
All right.
So Seattle is what I consider my home away from home. I do a lot with Swire Coke. Thank God they just signed a contract with T-Mobile Park.
Yep.
Hallelujah. And I'm out there at least 2-3 times a week. A year. So I do my best to hang out in town, especially when I'm doing my projects. I try to, hey guys, when we do these projects, can we do it somewhere on baseball season, please? Yeah. My friend Tracy there, I love him to death, and he always laughs at me over all this at the plant. So yeah, my love for the Mariners runs real deep. In 97, I was going through a whole lot with some separate issues, and my dad sends me an email one day and says, look, you've been going through a lot. We're going to get you out to Seattle. We're going to make sure it happens. And my dad traveled a lot, and he books me and my girlfriend at the time, books us 2 tickets out there, and a couple of my friends decided to join us, and I fell in love with the city. My very first game there was actually the turn ahead the clock night. It was just
no way.
I still have that hat.
Oh,
and it was strictly on accident. I had no idea. Dad just bought us tickets, and there it was. And oh my God, that was so much fun. And I fell in love with the city. My love for the team just grew 10 times more. Being in Virginia, though, it's really hard to catch games. And of course, in 95, my dad, oh Lord have mercy. So it was the divisional series, and of course, everyone's favorite game. Back then I had to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, that game is going on at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm wide awake. I'm freaking out. And of course we win. I go to work, and you'd have thought I slept for 16 hours. I was so excited. And of course I had my Yankees fans at the office, and they were less than cherub with me. So yeah, my love for my M's runs very, 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 very deep. Now, when Junior went to the Reds, did I follow the Reds? Absolutely, but it was still more Junior, and I still loved my Mariners. Even though he left, I still loved my M's, and that will never go away. That'll never die. Lord, no. So, yeah, there's probably maybe 10 Mariner fans in Virginia. So there's National fans and Orioles fans.
Right. Hey, I'll give credit to the Orioles fan base, man. They're loyal fans, even though that franchise hasn't done much in forever.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, we can resonate with them as M's fans, I think, a little bit.
Hey, I like where we're going so far this year. I like where we're going. We're having a good game right now. Was it 5-0?
I think 6-0 now. Last time I checked, I think.
Yeah, last time it was 5-0.
Yeah, the boys look good today,
Yeah.
especially the top of the lineup. Adam Frazier and Ty France started like 5 for 5 combined.
Yep.
I can't wait, man, to see where. I mean, I've been describing Jerry's plan, right, kind of as a jigsaw puzzle, and the first 1,000 or 900 pieces, whatever you want to call it, for the jigsaw plan. Those are the prospects, the farm system, building in, emptying out, old guys and getting, a refresh, right? And this year it's the corner pieces that we're finally adding to that jigsaw puzzle to finalize it. And so we've been, very bullish on Jerry Dipoto, and I love what he's been able to do. And one of the coolest things, which I'm almost positive you'll know this, but with the Ken Griffey Jr. becoming part of an owner of the Mariners this year. And so that in itself, like, I imagine, him calling somebody who is maybe on the fence of coming to Seattle and was like, hey, how about you guys talk with Ken Griffey Jr., see what he's got to say about this. And maybe that persuades somebody to come over to the team more, who knows, but it's pretty cool to see that. I mean, I think the only time since 2001 that we've, adjusted ownership in the organization.
Right. No, we're heading in the right direction, and J-Rod looks great. I'm crossing my finger. I'm hoping that's not too good to be true. I really am.
I don't think it is. I think he's gonna be a superstar, man. He's gonna be a superstar, and I think everybody knows that. You just hear the game today, or the interview with Jesse Winker when he came over, the way that the outside organizations are talking about the Mariners, and the way that the media is starting to talk about the Mariners. They're putting them on notice, and people are starting to, they're looking over in the Pacific Northwest a little bit more than they used to. Yeah. But another thing I wanted to touch on on your story, which I thought was so funny, when you told your now wife, right, like, hey, I do this thing in the basement. And I'm you could go so many avenues of what the hell is this guy doing in the basement, but then you say it's Ken Griffey Jr. stuff. It's like, oh, phew, okay, that's not that bad. Walk us through that, and like how cool it is probably to have, like, I don't know if her acceptance of how, Ken Griffey Jr. makes you feel, and just what's that look like to have, your person fully accept you for that. I mean, I'm really curious to hear that side of it.
My wife, right, so like the story says, we're dating, and it just came to that point where, all right, I got to kind of tell her about this, because I had just moved into an apartment with my best friend, and there was no room to display anything, and it's all at my dad's in boxes. And Michelle and I had gotten to the point where we're kind of talking, hey, where are we going to live here? When am I going to move in together? And that's when it clicked. Well, God, I guess I gotta tell her about all this. So I did, and I think she vastly underestimated. So day comes, time for Jason to move in. He can't have that much stuff. I did. I'm bringing in tote after tote after tote. What's in that? Griffey stuff. What happened? Griffey stuff. Griffey stuff. Griffey stuff. What do you have other than that? Not much. I didn't leave my last wife with much. And she has been. It really didn't hit her, until I really displayed it. So we moved into this little house right across from her parents, so the kids could be closer to the grandparents. And there was an unfinished room in this house in the basement. And of course, my mouth's just drooling. I get to set my stuff back up. Well, it was missing drywall. So this was my first expedition in drywalling anything in my life. So I drywalled it all up, and I told her, hey, don't even bother coming down here until it's done. And then I set everything up, and she walks in, and all I remember her saying is, oh, God. But she has been more than supportive. Of course, I have a huge rug on my floor now that she took one of my pictures and made a rug out of it for me for Christmas this year. That thing's absolutely amazing. Now,
are you a little superstitious with that too, right? You never step on the face and
never step on the face. Now, I walk on it all the time, but for some reason, I don't step on the face. I just don't.
It's like the white chalk. It's like the white chalk. Like you can't step on it.
Absolutely. It's I love that thing. Now, is it him in a Reds? Absolutely. Will I get one in with a Mariners uniform? Absolutely. That's going to be this coming Christmas.
Well, yeah, Jason, well, just welcome to the show, and just kind of like want to maybe could you kind of expand more on like how you were able to gather all this memorabilia? Like, was it, I said you started out with baseball cards, but what made you want to keep going and just keep adding and adding and all that? Like,
it's over $401,000 worth of memorabilia, right? It's crazy. I love it though.
It was like 421, wasn't it? Isn't it
421?
Yeah.
All right, so that one's actually easy to answer. The more I got, the more I would sort, and the more I would log, and the more peace I felt, the more calm on bad days or depressed days or angry days, whatever have you. I could come home, grab my packages, or grab the huge lots of cards that I would buy, and I would sit and log. And it's kind of like all of my issues of that day or a specific event that was happening in my life, I could watch that or feel that drain away. Was the problem there? Yes. But when I sort, I kind of get a little bit more clarity. I don't worry about it as much, so I could take a deep breath and then go back at that problem again. And because of that, because of all the stuff I would trade for, I would buy, I have amassed a small episode of Hoarders. So that one, yes, is very much easy to answer. It helps me, it calms me, it helps me deal with life. There are residual issues that linger from my childhood, and this kind of helps me deal with that. I don't handle problems like normal people may, so I have to find a release or something that'll just clear my mind for a bit so I can go back at my problems like a normal person would. So it's an episode of Hoarders.
Well, I think, man, like there's two directions that, somebody can go when they go through, traumatic experiences in life. And it's, a good direction or a bad direction. And the bad direction could be, alcohol, drugs or whatnot. But for some people, and like, I can relate in the sense, like baseball for me, man, when summer comes around, when spring comes around, that time of the year where it's 162 days, almost every single day, you got your boys on the TV, you get to watch them after work. It doesn't matter what the hell went on the rest of the day. For those 3 hours, whatever, how many hours it is, I don't care if it's 5 hours. I love that. But I know some people don't, whatever. But it allows you to escape and just focus on that one thing that you love. And, we're all about, all of us are 28, right? The last time in 2001, when we made the playoffs, we were in first grade. I've never experienced these guys. I've never really seen them in the freaking playoffs. And But we've always, every year it comes around. It's the season. It's the baseball. It's going into T-Mobile Park. It's smelling those 4 different blends of Kentucky bluegrass that we've got in the outfield.
Absolutely,
the perennial ryegrass in there as well. But it's cool to baseball, man. It brings, like you were saying earlier, it brings people together that you never knew you'd ever connect with. And like we've been able to, we're meeting you right now, having just shooting the shit, talking ball.
Absolutely.
And that's like, if somebody calls you freaking crazy for doing what you do to cope with whatever you need to do, man, it's, screw them. They have their own freaking issues, and they can cope with them however they want. But that's just how people roll, man. They have their own coping mechanisms. And I love hearing that Griffey and baseball is one for you. I think that we all are very similar in that regard.
Like I tell some people, hey, this beats meth.
Yeah, man. It does.
Jason, I caught a home run ball back in 2001, and so I haven't collected a bunch of memorabilia like you have, but I know how much I cherish that baseball. And so I was wondering, out of all the pieces that you have, what is if you can name the one that is your most cherished?
All right, so I really have two. The first is real dear to me. So how much do you guys know about baseball cards by chance?
Not that much.
Okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
If I'm being honest, yeah.
No, absolutely. So my favorite item, number one, is my 1993 finest refractor, Ken Griffey Jr. And that card, a PSA 10, you're looking at 15 grand.
So that's the highest, right? Like PSA 10 is the highest
Correct.
Value or something, right?
Correct. The highest grade you can get.
Highest grade, right?
Right. So back in 1994, I happened to show up at my grandmother's house. And my grandmother and my aunt and my mom would go all to yard sales and stuff. And I show up and she hands me this card. Straight up, I'm going to be honest with you. I started to cry. Okay. My grandmother had no idea what she had purchased, and she found it for $35. Okay. There's a regular version, and then there's the refractor version. Well, that refractor version back then was $1,000. Okay. Ungraded. Well, she found it again for $35, and I began to cry. She thought she had done something wrong. you don't like it? Is it the wrong person you collect? And I had to compose myself and explain to her what she had found. No, I got that for $35. There's no way. Oh yes, Grandma, it is. Wow. It's actually the only card I have ever sent to get graded, only because I wanted it encapsulated. And a buddy of mine, Joe, out of Rhode Island, sent it off for me because I had never done it. Just to have it, it came back a PSA 8, but that's still pretty pricey. And it's my favorite card. Now, my favorite non-card item is going to be my home run 481 bat that Junior used.
Yeah. That was in the article, actually, wasn't it?
Yep.
That's what it said. In the article, I think it said that was your most cherished item, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I got that when I was living in DC back in 2007, and I can probably count on two hands how many times it's actually been out of the case to actually hold it or touch it. I'm superstitious about that one too. But it's oh God, I love that thing.
What about the suits? I am super curious on those. Are they still sitting out, or what are you doing with the suits?
No, I actually put them back in the box and I put them in. So I actually bought those a long time ago, and they were $200. There was no guarantee, and then I get them, and I just didn't open them.
Wait, so when you say there was no guarantee, what do you mean there?
There were no guarantees that they were juniors.
Okay.
But I had pictures of the tags from the person that I bought them from, and I actually contacted the tailors that did these suits for Junior, and they came back with me. I mean, within 20 minutes each of each other, saying absolutely these are 110% tailored for Ken Griffey Jr. and they sat in the boxes over here. And for the longest time, I'm like, how in the hell am I going to display these? And if is it going to be creepy if I did? I mean,
Yeah.
And then Ryan comes and we get to talking about the suits. And I said, I just never opened. He said, really? I was like, you know what the hell? Let's open them. So he and I cracked those together, and I laid them out for the very first time. It's the first time I'd ever laid hands on them. And I decided to, since Ryan was kind enough to come down here and do all this for me, let's give him something to be happy about too. And let's give him this little gift of being the first, other person to see these other than me. So I still don't know how the hell I'm going to display them if I do.
You got to get
so they're put back in the box.
You got to buy a mannequin or something. Go to Nordstrom. Say, hey, can I have 2 of these mannequins? I got to put some suits on display. I don't think that'd be creepy, man. I think that'd be super cool. I don't know.
If I had a case or something to put them in, but I'm running out of room.
Yeah.
I'm really running out of room. My drink machine takes up enough as is.
Do you have that drink? I saw the picture of that. Do you have that drink machine? Is it working?
Oh, it's 100% working. It fully functional. 100%.
All right.
So that in itself was funny. In the height of COVID, my company put us on a no-fly order, and I had a huge project that was going in Fruitland, Idaho. So me and one of my best friends, one of my programmers, Michael Hebner, he and I hop in the truck and we take off across America. And it was towards the end of the project, I ended up finding a guy who had one of these out of Atlanta. Well, I contacted him and he said, well, I bought it, but I haven't picked it up. It's still in Cincinnati. I said, any way you would sell it? He said, absolutely. So I sent him the money. I looked at Mike. I said, hey, Mike, when we go home, we're going to take a small detour into Cincinnati.
How small of a detour was that?
400 or 500 miles out of the way.
Wow.
He didn't care. He's like, whatever, fine, we'll go.
He had a blast. Dude, I came home with so much crap that trip. But so that's just the front. So we go to Cincinnati, we pick up the front, we come home. I show my wife, and my wife's like, oh my God. But when I say she's supportive, about a week later, I'm sitting at work and she sends me this little blurb on Facebook Marketplace in North Carolina. There is a Dixie Narco Pepsi machine in North Carolina. They want $300 for it. I said, okay, gone. And I have a friend of mine, Mike, who works for a vending company. So he came over and helped me fix it up, make sure it's working properly, and put the front in. And here she sits today. And I know now why people don't attempt to steal these things. A Pepsi machine or a vending machine in general, even without the drinks in it, is 880 pounds. That's not an exaggeration. They're 880 pounds. And when we moved into this house, it's a little bit wider than a door frame for this house. I had to completely take the door frames off the house.
Oh, no.
To get the machine in this room. So, and then once it's in here, me and my buddy Matt, we put it all back together. We put the house back together just to get a machine in here.
You got no plans on you probably got no plans on taking it out of that room anytime soon.
Absolutely not. There's special equipment that you need to move these things. It's not something you invite the boys over just to help you pick it up and move it. It's too damn heavy for that.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, the thing's heavy. I'm
curious because when you guys went to you and a number of people went to the Hall of Fame induction, right?
Yep.
What I know you touched on it. It's written about in the article, but just want to hear your thoughts, on how cool it was. I'm sure like you met some of those people you've talked with for years for the first time there.
Yep.
And is everybody, for one reason or another, that was there had some sort of connection to Griffey, whether, however he impacted their lives in whatever way. What was that experience like, talking with those guys? Then you shook Griffey's hand, right?
All right. So that was during the Reds induction that I got to shake his hand. And that right there was surreal in itself. But the Hall of Fame, the actual MLB Hall of Fame weekend was amazing. One of the guys that was there, Jeff Heinrich, he lives in Denver, but he and I have become the best of friends just over this, and that was the first time he and I had ever met and actually shook hands. And every time I'm out in Denver, at first he lived in Salt Lake, and I did a lot with Swire Coke in Salt Lake. And then he moved to Denver. Of course, Swire Coke has a plant there too. So every time I was at either or, we're always doing something. We're always hanging out. And the other guys, Chad, God, I love Chad. He's out of Houston. Every time I'm in Houston, he and I get together. That whole weekend was about Junior, but it turned into this band of friendships that has been unbroken and unmatched. It's been great. These guys are wonderful, and they all have their own stories, whether it's just I liked watching him play, so I collected his stuff, or Jeff was kind of in, my boat. Collecting Junior stuff helped him through some things, and we all have a story if you're just willing to listen. And that weekend was all stories and all joy, and I would not trade that weekend for the world, and not just because I got to see Junior get inducted into the Hall of Fame and turn his hat backwards during the ceremony,
Yeah.
That was just an unbelievably wonderful weekend. It really was. So
you got any favorite players on the Mariners right now? Is it going to be a Julio Rodriguez collection for 15 years?
No. So anything, occasionally I buy cards still in packs. If it's worth anything, I ended up getting a Juan Soto 1-of-1 out of a pack in Milwaukee when I was up there, and I bet that thing lasted maybe an hour. I had already found somebody online that was willing to trade me something for it, Griffey wise. So yeah. But it was Seager, but of course that's gone now.
Yeah.
Feels a little bit hurt, but no, I'm really interested in seeing what Julio does for us. If there's anybody I'm going to watch right now, it's him. Not because of necessarily how good he is, but what his talent can mean for our team in general. That was the one thing that Junior always brought to the Mariners. It wasn't just the fact that he was good. He made baseball fun for the entire team.
Yeah.
But did it while being good, while being a phenom. Now,
Yeah.
If J-Rod turns into that could mean a whole new light for all of us.
Right.
So
they're guys like Junior. I'm not trying to compare Julio to Junior, but Julio just has that smile and he has that personality, and then he just already seems like he's going to be a superstar. And it's so hard in baseball to say that about prospects coming up, even if you're really bullish on them and you think they're going to be great. It's like they haven't taken a swing yet at the big league level. But there's something about Julio that it's almost like, now this is going to work. I think this is going to be good. Really good.
Well, and you see Julio, it was the other day, he was going around the stadium in spring training and like meeting up with fans and just talking with them. He tweeted out like, who's at the game today? I'm going to come and make your day. And he's just he's doing things that Griffey made baseball fun, right? The hat backwards, Jason, as you're saying, right? And in a different way. And Julio is bringing that charisma, right, to the clubhouse, and it rubs off on people. It's tough to stay in a bad mood when you got a guy like Julio in your ear, just talking about good vibes only. Same with Eugenio Suarez as we have now. But I mean, the guys, they complement each other so well in the clubhouse, and the culture that we have with Julio being, when he does his thing and gets to where we all hope he will, it's just going to mean so much more because it's a superstar that cares and loves the game for what it is. And that's something we haven't had. His wife was saying, I don't want to compare him to Griffey, but damn it, maybe.
Some big shoes to fill, though.
Yeah. But
those are big shoes to fill. Those are pretty damn big shoes.
It's not maybe not fair to ask him to fill those shoes. So I don't want to come off as saying that, but it'd be
Speaking
cool
of shoes, Jason, you got any Griffey cleats?
Yeah, I do.
He's like, why wouldn't? He's like, why wouldn't I?
Duh! What the hell, man?
So better question. How many do you have?
So I have 12 pairs of shoes and 2 pairs of cleats. And one of my pairs of cleats, I was actually at a Goodwill in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was like, I know that logo, and I wear a size 10.5, and those cleats are 13. But for $5, damn right, I'm picking up a pair of Griffey cleats for $5.
Yeah,
Griffey cleats doing in Raleigh, North Carolina. Did I just call it Cal Raleigh? No, I just called it Cal Raleigh.
Yeah, I was like, what did you just do there?
Mariners fan. What can I say?
Yeah.
That's funny as hell.
I didn't know what I was hearing. I was like, what?
That was Cal Raleigh.
Jesus.
Isn't that a catcher for the Mariners?
Well, Jason, what about because you're gonna disagree. I know you are with my viewpoint on Mr. Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, because I know your story, your view on steroids, and the ironic part is your first card was the Mark McGwire card. But what's the I want to dive into that. How did that card, I guess, be your first? And you still obviously have it, but you're very, very against the steroid era, right?
Correct. So the Mark McGwire was given to me by my buddy Brad Adams. That was my very first card, just to get me going. Brad said, here. And when they went to buy packs, I'd buy packs. But then we didn't know anything about steroids. He was a great player. Canseco, he was a great player. Bonds, he was a great player. And we didn't know anything about the steroid era, and we all just went with it. Now, do I heavily dislike the steroid users? Yes, I do. That McGwire sits in my case only because I never forget. It's kind of a reminder of never forget where you came from. And I'm both Brad and Aaron. I thank them at least once a year for helping me become a hoarder. And that card reminds me again where I came from, and that's the only reason that one is in there. Now, if it was a Barry Bonds, I'd have a tough time keeping it. I'd probably put it in a drawer or something. At least I'd keep it, but I put it in a drawer.
Well, Bonds and Griffey, they were close, right?
Yes,
they were close, and I know that because Griffey, I'm confident as hell in guaranteeing he never touched steroids.
We all are.
Yeah, but he was just so in that era. But for him to be as level-headed, and he was playing baseball because he loved it, right? And
correct,
he was naturally gifted and filthy at
correct.
the sport. He didn't need the steroids, but just knowing that he was able to avoid those, right, and not have to succumb to put in needles in his butt and have his muscles get bigger. Yeah, right. But it just is kind of crazy because, like, I don't know, like I wanted Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame because my viewpoint on steroids is it was such a prevalent era that telling I think about it this way. If I were sitting down with my, grandkids or whatever, way, way down the road, and baseball doesn't exist anymore, and I'm trying to tell them about the sport and the story of it, that era doesn't get that era gets brought up in the history of the sport. And so my viewpoint on it was like, yeah, it's shitty that they were using steroids. They shouldn't, but so many people were. You still got to recognize the ones who were at the top of that time. And that's my viewpoint on it.
So I get grumbles when I say this. Barry Bonds was good enough without the steroids to make it into the Hall of Fame. No doubt. I have no doubt in that. But if he was as good as everybody says he is, then you shouldn't need the steroids. Now, would he have hit 600 home runs? Probably. Would he have hit 755? Hell no. I don't think so. Hell, I might even give him 700 home runs, but he wouldn't be the home run king. I believe that the steroid era took baseball's most hallowed records and just pissed all over them. I mean, how nobody was coming close to Maris. Nobody. And then here we go. Oh, you passed it.
Well, it's like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire the same year. Like,
yes, and not just passed it. I mean, just stepped on it, pushed it into the mud, walked it dry, and then left.
Yeah. And I could see, if you're an older guy, like so I was like, well, how old was I when that was happening? First or second? I mean, what was that? 2000, 2002?
The last time we made the playoffs, or
no. When McGwire and Sosa were on that home run.
That was
race.
98.
That was 90s. Yeah, that was late 90s.
98. Well, I remember. I mean, I was born in early 93. I was 5. I remember a little bit of like,
whatever grade we were in, like in 2001, we were in first grade. Super easy for you to know what grade.
I graduated in high school in 92, you bastards.
I wasn't born yet.
Anyway, but if you were older and like you remembered, some of these records that standing for a long time, and you're looking at them and like no one's going to touch that, and then you see that happen, but the reason it happened was because of steroids. Yeah, it would leave a bad taste in your mouth, and you would probably make you turn away from those guys. And then you have a guy like Griffey who's done it the right
fighting
way.
for the home run title too, while those two steroid users are beating him. So I can see, as we're talking about that, and you're watching that in real time, I can see how that's frustrating.
Well, but Bonds for me took it many steps further. So I guess this was probably 95, 96. I remember an interview that he was doing with Chris Berman, and they had talked about the strike that had happened, and Chris asked him how that affected Bonds, how it affected his life. And Chris Berman said, this is the fans pay everyone's salary. And Bonds stopped him and said, no. I don't need fans. I've got endorsements. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, you little bastard. And so that started the bad taste in my mouth. And then when he decided, so there are a few articles out there where they have Bonds saying that he's tired of McGwire and Sosa getting all of the attention, and he wants some of this attention too. And that's the wrong way to look at it.
He's being a prima donna about it.
Correct. Junior always said, if you have fun, the stats will take care of themselves. If Bonds had stayed off the steroids and been a halfway decent human being, he would have broken records. Would it be baseball's most hallowed? I still say no. And Bonds, He's just a smug, unhappy little man. He really is, in my eyes. But
I'm curious. Well, you go.
No,
I was curious. Just has Griffey has he reached out to you, like, or have you guys, like, has he heard of your story yet?
I have no idea. No clue. So there, one of the guys I talked to this week he's out of, I want to say he said he's just outside of Portland. He runs a Mariners blog spot of some kind. And he said he has the plan to start a petition for me to throw out the first pitch at a game and to meet Griffey. And I'm like, yeah, sure, that'll happen.
It might, man.
I don't know about all that now. Would I love that? Absolutely. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. I harbor no delusion on that.
Anything is possible, man. I think, I mean, people obviously are catching wind of this story, man. Like, anything is possible. Kevin Garnett said it best, but
oh gosh,
anything is possible. But man, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. And if that does happen, man, we're going to be at that game. We'll be watching there, and we'll see you throw that first strike. No doubt.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
absolutely. So are all of you guys based in Seattle?
Yeah. So Evan and I, we've born and raised here in Seattle. I've known him since first grade. His wife, him and I met at a party at 4th of July 2 years ago. We met one time, and he had been watching our podcast a little bit. We started last year, and he hit me up and was like, "Hey man, I want to join the show." And I'm like, "I remember talking with you one night for like 5 hours strictly about the Mariners. I love that conversation. Sure, we're bringing it on." And the rest is history. So we're all diehard M's, true to the blue as it gets, and born and raised in Seattle.
Okay. Before I forget, you see if I can find his name. For some reason, it's escaping me at the moment. There is Elliot Brown, who is the account executive, suites and hospitality manager for the Mariners. Reached out to me, and we talked a little bit about tickets. It didn't go that far, but we got to talking about other things, and I actually mentioned you guys, and he was going to check all this out. So
wow.
I kind of plugged you guys to the Mariners.
Man,
dude,
so
that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. That
is sweet. I actually, I declined a job offer with the Seattle Mariners late this last year for one of those positions, the account executive sales, and they offered me the job, but they said I'd have to leave the podcast as they didn't want another Kevin Mathers situation. Not that, we would do that, but they had to they just said it's conflict of interest. And so I politely, said, "Hey, best of luck with you guys, endeavors, but I can't quit this podcast. It's our baby."
Dude, that's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. It is like the perks would have been sweet, man. It was season tickets, 4 tickets to every home game. You could use the visiting teams workout facility stuff like that. Tons of perks, but we'd have to stop the baby. We'd have to stop Monday Mojo, and that's not what we wanted to do,
No.
Yeah. But that's cool, man. Yeah, Elliot Brown, you said?
Yeah.
We might have to follow up. Like, hey, man, what do you think?
I'll send you that information later.
Right.
Check your mail.
Oh, man. I'll keep the DMs open. I love it. Well, I mean, shoot, I know we've kept you a little bit longer than the original time. I mean,
it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know, boys. You got any other questions?
Help yourselves. I'm open all night. So
you got questions?
I got one more. I got one more actually. Okay, so what's next on your radar for Griffey memorabilia? Is there something that you're eyeing that's kind of catching your eye, or there's got to be something that you're looking at?
So it's not necessarily a particular item, and you might think this is crazy. So I have another guy The closest to my count currently is just over 50,000. Okay. And he's been poking at me and kind of joking with me that he was coming after my numbers. So I've used that as kind of an incentive to start trading and looking into buying larger Griffey lots so I can, just keep going before he even attempts to catch up. So that's really it. And as far as any individual things that I look for, it's just anything that catches my eye that I don't have that really stands out, or just cards in general that I don't have, whether it's a 10-cent card or, a $100 card. There's all kinds of things I don't have. There's over 21,000 Ken Griffey Jr. different Ken Griffey Jr. cards out there, and I've only got a little over 8,000.
Yeah, only.
Yeah. But when you think about it, I have, what was the last number? Just a moment. That's right. I'm calling up my Excel sheet on my phone. Don't judge. I have 101,739, but only, what was it, 8,769 different out of 22,000. So I don't even have half yet. But there are some really expensive cards out there. One of my buddies just spent $65,000 on one of them. I'm like, you go, buddy. You do that. I'd be in divorce court. My wife is supportive, but I don't think she's $65,000 supportive.
On one card, nonetheless.
One card.
God damn, that's a couple. Yep. That's a couple cars for some people.
That's half a house, man. In Virginia, that's a small ranch with a little half an acre, man.
That's too good.
Well, to all the listeners, right? The Monday Mojo listeners, if you want more of the story on ESPN, the title is "How Ken Griffey Jr. Saved a Man's Life," and it's by Ryan Hawkinsmith. And I read it, and Soba, you said it almost moved you to tears. And I really, really enjoyed it. So there's a lot more to the story there. If you guys want to go read that, I recommend it. It really was a great and inspiring read.
I'll second
get me
that.
All choked up.
It's cool. It's just cool, man. Like there's no shame in crying. I don't know why. Like as I've gotten older, I'll be watching like a Disney movie and I'll start crying. Like I don't know why. But I've become more emotional lately.
Oh God, the Toy Story shit.
Right? It's like, no, come on, Woody. No, but you like as the wife will say, I was like choking up reading the article because it's just cool. Like the one I love baseball, man. I love it so much. And I know like when the day that the playoffs happened, like we were at a game, the second to last game of the season, when Mitch Haniger hit the single in the 8th inning, we ended up taking the lead. We won the game. When he hit that single, I couldn't help it. I started crying like crazy. And I was like, oh, we're not out. We're not out of it, baby. We're not out. And like my the other guy, Max, he's on the show too. He couldn't make it. He's out of town. He's like, I'm seeing a grown man cry right now. What the hell's going on? And it's baseball will move people and it'll make them do crazy things that they just can't explain. And when you read this article, you get an idea of how baseball has affected an individual's life. And you get you were super open about your story. And there's people out there who probably, or I know for a fact, will read this and they'll resonate and they'll, like you said, if this can just change one person's life, like, damn, that's insane. And that's really cool. And so if you're a baseball fan or not, if you're just a fan of people being happy and learning about something that makes some specific individual extremely happy, it's a beautiful read. It's a beautiful story.
The one thing I have forgotten to mention, to everybody, that this collection didn't just bring me closer to my friends, and this collection helped my father and I spawn the most brilliant father-son relationship on the planet. My brother too. I love him both, and they have been just as supportive as anybody. Like I said, my dad sent me to my very first trip to the Kingdom, and I haven't given them props enough. My dad's my hero, you know. This has been a hell of a journey, and again, what am I doing right now? I'm meeting 3 wonderful individuals that I had no idea that you guys existed. So, and when I come back out there, you know, we'll figure it out. Whether it be a beer on me, if you guys want
beer on us, man,
tickets
beer
on
on
me,
us.
you know, I would love to at least. I don't care if it's dinner, just shake you guys' hands and thank you immensely for all of this. This has been fantastic. You guys have been really the cap for this entire week. You really have.
Awesome. Well, we would love to do that. That would be so much fun. I mean, if we could, you know, catch a game or go to get some beers or do something like that. But
damn right.
Yeah, we will 100%. And I'm gonna be hoping, and we'll try and make a push to get that first pitch Griffey meeting. There's like, I don't know how much influence we'll be able to generate, if any, but we'll try.
Hey, I harbor no delusion that'll happen, but you know, like I said, this meeting you guys, meeting all these people, hearing all of these stories has been the best part of all of this. It really has. It's now beyond the collection. It's new friends and meeting people. And hearing people's stories has just been humbling as hell. That is for sure. It's been wonderful. It really has. And you guys have been very much a part of that. Hell, I don't even know how long we've been talking.
Man. Right, maybe about an hour, but that's the thing with these, man. Like it's always just flowing and having fun talking ball with the boys, you know?
Yep. And you were right. You said, you know, act like it's just we're at the bar having a beer and talking. And that's exactly the way it's been. That's the way I've looked at it, man.
Good, man. That's the vibe that we like to bring, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've interviewed Goldsmith, and we've had on Willie Bloomquist and Julio Rodriguez, and this has been one of my, you know, this has been one of the most fun interviews we've done. So, yeah, thank you so much.
God, this means that you know, hearing that too, man. You guys are amazing. I can't thank you enough, and I would do this again with you guys all day long.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well, hey, when you do get the word that you're coming to Seattle, you got me on Twitter. DM me, man. We'll link up. We'll get that figured out. But hey, this is I'll echo what you said, but you know, in reverse, like we appreciate you, appreciate your time coming on, and hey, 2022, year of the Mariner. I feel strongly about it.
Yes, Let's do it.
Yes,
my oh my, baby.